Hey guys, I got a special guest here today. Today's guest is Joe Dent. He's the CEO with over 30 years in the pet industry, and he's currently the CEO of Everything Pets under Loyalty Brands. Joe has spent decades building, scaling, and leading in one of the most relationship-driven industries out there. In this conversation, we're going to unpack leadership, long-term thinking, and real decisions that are going to separate people who last from people who burn out. So I'm so excited to get started. Joe, you've spent over 30 years in the pet industry, and now you lead Everything Pets under Loyalty Brands. When you zoom out over your whole journey, what's one belief about leadership you were wrong about early on?
I think the biggest thing is how to lead. And I think coaching, mentoring, and I was very fortunate that I worked with a lot of fantastic mentors over throughout my career. And the best ones and the ones that I learned the most from were those that led by example and were able to uh, really create culture and create meaningful ways to work with you. I still have the same relationships over those 30 years. Some of my best friends I met in the industry, and continue to have those relationships. So that's been something that is really, really key. It's how to stay focused, but also be meaningful.
Yeah, absolutely. And being thoughtful, and it shows up, and people appreciate that. So for you, where did this journey begin? Where did you get started in the pet industry? Was this on purpose? Like, was this an accident? How did this all get started?
It was complete dumb luck. I've always been a pet lover. It started, my gosh, I was originally, raised, grew up in a row home in Baltimore with my mom and grandmother who rescued dogs. My grandmother in her row home, she had been widowed early and never remarried, and had a love for pets. So she, would rescue dogs, and we grew up with shepherds, labs, collies, and I developed a passion for pets in general.
That's
Uh,
incredible. You actually
yeah, I
had
was
like many
again very
dogs coming
fortunate.
through, like all these
She
dogs.
did literally. It's funny. This was pre the world that we know today. So she was. I can still remember her making eggs and and bacon to mix in with their kibble. So that was that was a lot of fun, and it developed a real passion for pets. As far as the industry, I was in the apparel industry for several years, and when there was an opportunity, I answered a blind ad, honestly, and it was a Canadian company called Pet Valu that were opening their fourth store in the U.S. and needed a district manager. And I met with this fantastic little lady who was the head of HR. Uh, she beat me up for about 2 weeks. And ultimately, I came on board, and that catapulted into a 25-year career with Pet Value and Pet Retail brands that ultimately we grew to almost 1,200 locations and well over $1 billion in sales. So
That's
it was really exciting, and I was very, very fortunate. As you'll hear that over and over throughout my career, I have been fortunate that I've worked with some spectacular people.
absolutely that's incredible. And you just did a blind ad, like you just
It
applied.
was I was scrambling. It was a long time ago and needed a job, and it was the one I saw Pet, and it really appealed to me. And
No, the only reason I say that is just because there's so many people out there that are just fear of rejection, fear of
well, it
failure, and
was
they don't even want to put themselves out there.
this was pre-internet, so it was go to the library, it was get newspapers, and it was send in your resume, mail your resume, or fax it in, and yeah, so it was old school, and it fortunately it worked. I actually same exact week I had a couple different opportunities that came up, and very lucky that I picked the right one. Um,
Absolutely, absolutely.
that that started in pet, and it became just a lot of fun, and it's been a 30 year career so far.
So for you, and just because I know like a lot of the audience is probably sitting there going like 25 years with the company, how did you feel and just continue to grow in that journey? Because I know sometimes people get very complacent if they're at the same like company for a long time or at the same job or same role. Like,
Well, you
how did you
you
think about that?
Throughout my career, I've been fortunate that in a lot of places we've been in growth mode, and you can't be complacent if you're in growth mode. And part of the best thing about that was I got an opportunity to work with a couple of people, a CEO in particular, a guy named Tom McNeely, who was the CEO at the time, and was just a phenomenal mentor. And his focus was try things, do what, we're going to grow, make mistakes, you're going to make them, correct them, and move on. If you don't make change, we're not going to grow. So we did, and I worked with again some phenomenal people, including everywhere from it didn't matter what position, whether it was a sales associate, a franchisee, or someone in our corporate office. We were just very fortunate that everyone kind of bought into a vision of growth, and it worked
Yeah.
out really, really well.
So it reframed what you thought about change.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
It,
I think
the
I say
convention,
this
yeah, the
kind of
conventional wisdom is that change is scary, change is bad, but the only constant in the world is change.
that's correct. It is scary. I mean, every day I'm 57 years old, and starting a new career with with everything pets, and it is always scary. But that's the fun of it. If you're not excited about it, you don't have those butterflies. Maybe it's not worth doing.
Yeah.
Part of that passion. I mean, I'm a big sports fan as well, and I've done a lot of coaching and all. And it's getting excited. Everybody's nervous before a big game.
Yeah.
But if you're not, usually something's wrong. And I think to that point, as far as the growth, John Hewitt will say, the 10 most important words, in the English language. If it is to be, it is up to me. I think the second most important is that's what we have always done.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to embrace change, and you've got to
Yeah.
want to do things. You can't be afraid to try things new and to do things differently, and you're
I,
going to fail. I mean, I've had as many failures, if not more, than success stories, and that's okay. You pick yourself up and you keep going, and figure it out.
absolutely. So for you, you mentioned that you had one of the CEOs as your mentor.
Several,
And,
actually, several. I have been blessed. I have really been blessed. I'd say, at that time, Tom McNeely and a guy
well,
named Paul House, who was a legend, and a gentleman named Aziz Giga, who was a Three Dog Bakery owner, and now I am so fortunate to be able to work with really titans of
yeah.
the franchise world, John Hewitt and Bob Gappa. John Hewitt is not only the grandfather of tax, but really of franchising. The only person I think in history to build $2 billion franchise companies. So, I am so fortunate that every day I get a chance to interact with John and Bob. It's a learning experience, and it's really exciting.
Absolutely. And when you were saying that you had mentors back in the day or even today,
Yeah.
what is that like? You are my mentor. Because there's probably people in the audience that are sitting there going, how does one find a mentor? What does a mentor
No,
even look
it's
like?
it's really not. And I'll tell you the truth is that I look for ways to learn every single day, and good or bad. As I said, I've been blessed throughout my career that I've had some great people to follow. And but that said, I've learned as much from franchisees and managers getting out in the field and talking to people and just learning what they do. Tell me how you groom a dog, tell me how like what are your customers doing, and every day is an opportunity to learn. We're really fortunate at Everything Pet that we've got I'll call him younger because I'm the old guy now, but we've got a younger group of brand leaders, and while I am helping to mentor them, they don't realize that every day they're teaching me something, and it's exciting.
So for a lot of people that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, they think they're on the latter half and they think that they're always trying to mentor others. How do you have that mindset of learning? Because I see a lot, the most successful people always have that and they never give that up. They always learn from everybody around them. So where did that kind of develop for you?
I thought, well, I've always had that. It came actually through sports. It was watching the best coaches had a knack for, getting, bringing the most out of people. And I listened, I watched, and I saw how, they would interact with people differently to get the most out of them and just watch what they did. And throughout my career, that's what I did, whether it didn't matter what field they were in or what they were doing, whether it was human resources, marketing, or finance, I just paid attention and tried to look at, what they do a little bit differently than everyone else. And I think if we, I try every day to see, to know a little bit, more about something. And the more I can learn, the more it expands my knowledge, and then I can share. So that's
Absolutely.
really
I mean,
that's kind of the focus, is never stop learning. I think I hope to continue that until I'm not here. I think it's important to constantly be learning.
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I have a coaching group, and one of the things we talked about was this idea of like being a river, like basically being a stream. So you got one hand up
Mhm.
where they're like giving you the insight, and then you got one hand down where you're helping people up. So it's this
True.
idea of how do you have that full stream of mentoring, yes, but being mentored and being open to that. And one of the things I think about mentorship is it's not always so much, hey, this person's my absolute mentor. It's like, hey, we have a couple different areas of life, right? So like this one might be my gym mentor. Like I'm not going to have my rabbi be my business mentor. Like it's just, you know what I mean? You got to find the right person
Absolutely.
for the right place.
Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely right. And you look at, who is, and not in the literal sense of you are my mentor, but who do you look at and who do you admire in each of those phases, whether it's from a spiritual standpoint, whether it's a business standpoint, it's a family standpoint, and I always look at who do I think models, and I try to model my behavior after that, saying, okay, that worked for them, let me see what they're doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So for you, Joe, you're at this company for 25 years. What ends up happening that you end up transitioning? Not like what was the actual activity, but it was just more along the lines of like if most people are at a company for 25 years, they're like, dude, I am staying here forever or I am retiring. I'm done. Like for you to like do a different like that's incredible.
Well,
Like most people
no,
don't.
listen, I want to be clear. The reality is that, like, we were a company that was owned by a larger group, and ultimately, there was a change, and they made some changes to,
Yeah,
C-suite, and things happen,
of
and
course.
that's, again, everything you take as a learning experience, and you move on. So it was, hey, go find something that you're passionate about, and I
Yeah.
was fortunate that I did. I was able to stay in the pet space, and even now, last year I got a call. Well, this time last year, actually, it was funny that we're talking today on Christmas Eve, because it was this time last year. I met with John Hugh at the beginning of December last year, and John said, "Hey, why don't you come meet our team?" So I went down. I got a chance to meet people, but the last call I had before I really knew I wanted to join Loyalty Brands was with Bob Gappa on Christmas
Yeah.
Eve. And I thought it was going to be a 30-minute call. I think we were on the phone for an hour and a half. And I walked away with, I really want to work here. And, I want to be part of this. And it was exciting to, one, see what John was building, and knowing what he had built at Jackson Hewitt, at Liberty, but to really, what resonated was, that he called it Loyalty Brands. When I asked him, he said, "I want you to meet our team." And I met people that had been around for 20 to 35 years in some cases, at multiple companies, and that really, really resonated with me.
Yeah.
um, if nothing else, if you had to pick a word, loyal is one that I I think very highly of, and that really resonated. And then meeting John, and getting to know John more, and Bob more, and it was such a great vision. And
Yeah.
as luck would have it, John asked me to join the team on a consulting basis. And funny story, actually, I'm a pet guy. Everybody knows I'm kind of been in pet forever. And John says, "Hey, I want you to work on our ledgers business, which is small business bookkeeping." Um,
So,
okay.
so, so I just want to preface for the audience because not everyone might know all about loyalty brands and everything going on there. So you're 56 at this time.
Yeah, I
You're
am.
you're looking for a job for basically like the first time in forever, and you find this
Mhm.
opportunity, and they go, and you're the pet guy, and they go, no. let's go into the accounting space. And you're like, okay. Like, it's because for me, a lot of like I do a lot of coaching. I speak to a lot of
Yep.
people, and a lot of them, a big challenge for them is this like ego that they carry of like, I'm this successful, I'm this guy. So how do you go into these situations and not have this, or you know what I'm talking about? You know where
Yeah,
people struggle with
absolutely.
it. Yeah.
I first of all, I'm not a big fan of egos. Confident is great,
Yeah.
but there's a fine line, and those that typically have the biggest egos, you usually produce the least, and that's not always the case, but a lot of times, so really what that was, and I've learned this, John, Hewitt is the consummate chess player. Actually, he's a world ranked chess player,
Oh,
and
really? I didn't even know that.
it's pretty crazy. Like I think a world class chess player and bridge player, which is really fun and really funny. But it's, he constantly looks at how to move, people around to make the most sense. And, there's always a long-term vision.
Yeah.
And it was, hey, I guess see how you work with people. And I had the good fortune to work with Tyler Wynn, who I think you've had on your podcast,
Yes.
that heads up our Ledgers group. And it was a lot of fun. It was a great experience to spend a few months really working with him, building out the infrastructure and kind of seeing how we can help to grow. And I
And
will tell you, it's one of the fastest growing companies in franchising right now.
what
So
was it? What
pretty
was your
proud.
thought process during this time? Because I mean, you've just been there, you've done that. So it's like, how do you think about that? Just because, like I said, there's so many people that struggle with this re-identification. You know what I mean? Or do you just
Yeah, I
never
mean,
really? Yeah.
I've never really, worried about, reinventing. I started the poor kid in Baltimore, so I kind of go, hey, like whatever happens is upside, and I've been really fortunate. So, I'm pretty blessed there,
I I
and
will I want to share that for the audience that Joe here, who's had like all of this success, done all these amazing things, that he sits there and has not low expectations of himself, but he just goes, "This is where I started from. Everything's a bonus." Like the fact that I'm still going and I'm still doing this is a bonus. And because there's so many of us that have this high expectation of I need to make this much money or I'm a worthless piece of, like, you know what I mean? And it's like,
no,
yeah, that's
yeah,
not
I
the
mean,
strategy at all.
don't get me wrong. I've got very very high goals, and
Yeah.
I've been fortunate that I've done well, but I've got a great family, and I've been blessed. So as far as that, I'm in good shape. And with loyalty brands, the first that gig was actually a consulting gig where John said, "Hey, come, see if there's a good fit,"
Yeah.
and it was, and it was terrific that in May, John said, "Hey, I want you to head up, everything pet."
Oh, wow.
Which was terrific, because obviously, when we first chatted, that was the main focus of our conversations was around pets. So, what a fantastic opportunity, and I am
And
as excited.
so what is the difference there? Because people might not know. Loyalty Brands holds 8 different brands, I think it is.
Nine. We
Nine
actually have
different.
nine. Today we have nine. We're always actively looking for incredible opportunities and ways to improve lives. That is loyalty's motto, and that was also something that really resonated. Having fun and improving lives is our focus, and we look for franchise opportunities that can create opportunity for people. And the Everything Pets group. Right now, we have four brands in the pet vertical. Zoom and Groomin', which is the largest and fastest growing mobile groomer on the planet. I am so proud of that group.
Yeah, and just to clarify for the audience, these are all franchisors. So they
Yes.
own the franchises and then everyone franchises them. And Joe, I also got to tell you a story. So I was driving back from Fort Lauderdale this weekend and I went back to Tampa. And I made
Mhm.
my wife take a picture. She never sent it to me, so I didn't get to send it to you. It was a Zoom and Driven truck. And I'm like, Madison,
Love it.
that's it. That's it. It's in the wild. It's in the wild. I saw the brand in the wild.
That is amazing. I get so excited. I get more calls now of people that see our vans on the road saying, "Hey, I just saw this." And you mentioned Tampa. We got wonderful franchisees down in Florida and all over the place. But it's exciting. So Zoom and Grooming was the first, and now we have four. We have Cooper Scoopers, which is waste pickup and pet walking and pet sitting. We have Salty Dog, Salon and Bakery, which is a fantastic brick and mortar, like really gold standard grooming salon, created by the founder, Win Clayball, and the Paul Mitchell schools, and
I
Gary
had Win on
Ratner.
the
So
podcast as well.
I know you've had Win on the podcast again. Like I say, I'm very fortunate that I've been around a lot of great people that really inspire. And Win is another. His book "Be Nice." You can't you can't talk to Win and not be excited and have fun. So back to our group, Cooper Scoopers, and then finally we just in September partnered with a new group called Hike Doggy, which is the greatest dog activity on the planet. They're based out of Golden, Colorado. Kath Allen and Abby Lee just did this incredible job where we pick up your dogs, we take them for a 2 hour hike, and it is the most exciting part of any dog's week, and just a blast. I even
Yeah.
got a chance to go out to Colorado and do that 2 hour hike, and it was beyond inspiring. So it's a lot of
Yeah.
fun, and we've just kicked that off in September and already growing. Just did our first two or three deals in the last 2 weeks, so very very
Oh,
excited,
amazing.
and that is starting to really take off. It's a great concept. So yeah, I think our goal is, and I'll steal this from Kath Allen. It's make your dog feel as good as they make us feel. Um, and I love that. It's that they've become so incredibly therapeutic for us, and they've done such great things. They're part of our family, and if we can do our part to make their lives a little easier, and also make the pet owners' lives easier, you'll see that
Yeah.
we have a strong focus on mobile and on services that are geared towards making pet parents' lives a little bit easier. And how can we enrich your pet's lives, and how can we make yours a little bit easier?
Absolutely. And if someone was looking like, because I feel like most franchisees, they sit there and go, I don't even know what's going on. Like, are these like, are the best people for this like pre-business owners? Are they employees? Are they people who are looking for a side hustle? Like,
Yeah.
what is the best way to think about this? Because I mean, you guys got a lot of opportunities, a lot of different things, and it can be a little intimidating.
Well, I think one we've got a fantastic team that can walk you through the process. But the real thing we're looking for is, obviously you need a bit of some business acumen. Helps if you have any type of a business ownership in the family, maybe, or you've been exposed to it. But the reality is that anybody that has a passion for pets and a desire to have financial independence and work for yourself can do it. We create, and this is something that I'm beyond impressed with what Loyalty Brands has done, is we create systems, that make it very easy to be successful. If you follow the system, your chance of success is incredible.
Yeah.
I think, John, talks, I think he's up to 1,100. He's created over 1,200 millionaires. And
Oh, wow.
he's had all of these successful franchisees. And every time, I'm around, I meet them. And, I've seen that throughout my career, is that, franchisees that are passionate and work hard and follow the system are successful.
Yeah.
Those that don't want to follow a system, frankly, shouldn't be franchisees.
I mean, it was very fascinating because I'll also add in that I actually went to the Loyalty Brands kickoff conference earlier this year. I think it was
Yeah.
like end of May or something like that, and it was just, I mean, you could feel the energy. Like the people were excited and they wanted to be there, and you saw all the people doing their different brands and their different thing, and it was just very, very interesting to see.
It's truly, truly inspiring, and to see the passion that is there, and that's what makes it so special. I can't tell you at that conference alone how many people came up to me saying, from our tax business, from our bookkeeping business, from our construction business, saying, "Hey, I want to learn about Salty Dog. I want to learn about Cooper's. I think I might want to get a human grooming.
Well,
Tell me about
well,
this and how do I do it?"
you're bringing up a really interesting point, and this was kind of like a little bit crazy for me that it just in one vertical. There's these people that would go in there that you might be a franchisee of. I don't know, one of the everything pet brands. Might be one of those franchisees, and they're like, I want to get another franchisee of like a different. And I was like, what is going on? Like, because to me, like it was very interesting. You grow up, you get a job, like you work your job, buy a house, you retire, you have your family, and like what John's created and like what you're creating here, Joe, is like completely flipping over the podium, like how we even think about income streams and money management and all of it. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. Is that we create opportunities for individuals to successfully scale, and we cross over, by having these different verticals. Right now our two main focuses are in finance. And I'll also throw in home and pet, with pet, obviously
Yeah.
being the one I'm most passionate about. But, from CR3 that does construction, roofing, exterior, construction to loyalty business brands to whole property management is a new one that is a fantastic new concept that we launched about 3 months ago. There are so many unique opportunities, and all of they all tie together. You
Yeah.
know, customers,
Yeah.
everybody needs a roof.
I mean,
And
you're
chances
not
are
wrong.
70% of those families that live in those houses that need roofs have pets.
Yeah.
And
No, and then there's
everybody
also
has to get
property
taxes.
management. There's also
Yeah,
property management. There's also the taxes, and it's just all the overlap is
that's
just
correct.
it's like how do you optimize for it? Because you're looking at it a completely different way opposed to like the normal, hey, I'm just a pet guy. What do I do? Like, and it's very interesting to have so many different opportunities.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's funny. Ledgers, for example, we've got a few people in the pet space that have ledgers businesses, and it just works out really well. And there's so many synergies, and what John's vision was and what he is really built is exactly that, creating this ecosystem of opportunity for people. And we've been really privileged to be a part of it, and really kind of see it on its ground floor. We just celebrated our had a Zoom and grooming training last week, and we celebrated our 500th franchisee at Loyalty Brands.
That's
I mean, talk
incredible.
about it exciting. It was fantastic. Maureen out of Washington State, and it was such a blast to say, "Hey, you're our 500th." By the end of this year, we are approaching our, on the Zoom and grooming side, our 500,000th groom.
Oh my
We
God.
have over a hundred
Oh, just
thousand.
because you start seeing all the volume come in from
Yeah, I
all
mean
of these
it's
different
amazing,
people
and
and doing
it's
things.
like this is less than 5 years old.
Yeah. No,
So to
I mean
see
it's
that
it's an
kind of
impactful
growth,
thing.
is unbelievable. We've seen just a tremendous trajectory.
So, Joe, for you, how do people start to see the success and how do people start to hitch their wagon on the right people? Because I know right now, or even get into business for themselves, because right now everyone's like, I want to do my own thing. Like, so how do you think about that and then just getting around? Because it seems like you've hitched your wagon onto like some very impressive players. And by hitch your wagon, I mean like you
Sure.
join the team or kind of get involved with them because you see the vision.
Well, like I said, sometimes a little bit of luck helps, but also I say this often, and I learned this from a guy named Paul House. He had a line, many years ago, said the smartest guy in the room is the guy that knows he's not. And I genuinely try to learn from everybody that I see and look for opportunity. Loyalty Brands was dumb luck. I was doing other things and was not looking when John called and said, "Wow, this could be a great opportunity." And it is as exciting as anything I've ever done. Actually, more exciting. And we're just starting to really ramp up. What we're
Yeah.
doing now is great. So how does somebody get in? One, they take a look at us and check out loyalty brands. I should just say everything pets, but the reality is that loyalty brands offer so many huge opportunities. Please have people take a look, and really what you want to do is you want to find something that you're going to be comfortable in. And I didn't say not nervous about it. I didn't say not scared, but comfortable, and it's something you like. John has this line. He's instead of thank God it's Friday, it's thank God it's Monday. He works 365 days a year, and he'll tell you that Monday is as exciting as any day of the week because if you love what you do, you're really passionate about it, so you can't wait to kick off the week.
I'm not gonna lie, everyone I've spoken to at Loyalty is just a go-getter. There is no, hey, we're slowing down for the holiday. Like, not saying they don't have fun, not saying they don't do
No,
that stuff, but they're still bring the like it's very high energy and it's good. I mean, it's the people you want to be around. You want to be around, like I just gave a presentation this morning. Like you want to be around the right people who give
yeah.
you that energy.
Culture is so incredibly important. And, we have three strategic imperatives for every single brand. And, it's really simple. I can share it's
Yeah,
grow,
of course.
create happy, successful franchisees. So make sure you're doing what you can to take care of them and create fanatical fans. We want our people to be fanatical about us. If you go to Salty Dog or Zoom and Grumman or Cooper's or Hike Doggy, I want you to have the greatest experience ever. I want your dog to bark, every time our van pulls up because they're so excited to see us. Whether we're scooping poop in your backyard or we're trimming up your dog or taking them on a hike, we want that experience to be superb, and we want you to genuinely think of us as the gold standard in
Yeah.
everything we're doing. So that's creating the fanatical fans. But really, on the happy and successful franchisees, the key is one, give them the system. Give them be truly a strategic partner of theirs and help them to grow, and mentor them in a way that allows, them to mentor, their people. Being a happy and successful franchisee means that your people are happy and successful. We have, on the grooming side, both the Salty Dog and Zoom and Grooming, we have a groomer-first mentality. We
Yeah.
treat our groomers, I believe better than anyone else in the industry. And it's doing the little things, that make a difference,
So
so
that
we,
so you're saying instead of putting the customer first, it's really like put the employee first.
Yeah, it's both. It's both. You create that culture where if I treat you right and they treat our customers right,
Of
and
course.
it just
Yeah,
kind of
no,
keeps
I wasn't trying
rolling.
to
But yeah,
say it was one way or the other
you're
way, but I'm just
absolutely, Jordan. You're absolutely right. Is that um, they are our customers, right? Our employees are as important as our customers. So treat them, the same way. Treat
yeah,
everybody right, and try to do whatever you can to, create a culture of fun and improvement where they're excited to be here.
absolutely. And then a lot of the I mean, even a lot of the employees sometimes probably see opportunities where it's like we can get involved even further. And like,
Absolutely. Whether they can evolve to their skills as far as grooming, or they want to own their own business.
that's what I'm
Like
saying. Yeah.
that's the greatest part when we see somebody, that says, "Hey, I think I'm ready to do this," and then their franchisee wants to help them, because they want to
Yeah.
mentor them and see them. And we also have a great program at Loyalty Brands called our area rep program, where you can buy multiple territories, and you're basically a mentor to franchisees.
Yeah.
So it's a great program, and again, we try to create that or cultivate that culture throughout the organization, so people are really excited to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So with Edwards Consulting, we have five pillars. It's mental health, physical health, community service, philanthropy, spirituality, and relationships. So I'm going to ask you, Joe, because I've been doing this for the past like probably 40 episodes where I ask people the five pillars. And the reason is because one, it can give them insights on how to feel better, or it's, hey, I'm a person too, and we're not all perfect because the truth is we're not. So Joe, what is your mental health like today? Not every day, just like today. How are you feeling on like a 1 to 10? And for yeah, just curious.
Today is pretty good. It's probably an 8.
An 8? Why do you feel that
It's
way?
probably an eight, like we're winding down. So I'm racing through all the things we want to get done by year end. I'm also thinking of, we've got a lot of family over for Christmas tomorrow. So thinking about what we have to do to prepare for that, thinking about making sure, helping my wife out, who is, definitely taking the brunt of doing everything. So yeah, it's in a pretty good space. I don't have a heavy load today. Um, and every day is different, as you said. It's a work in progress. I think, my assumption is that everybody tells you they're perfect or lying. They're not. People have good days and bad days. There are a lot of days you wake up and go, I don't want to get out. I don't want to come out from under the covers. And you fight through that. That's just
Yeah,
reality. Is that nothing is perfect over the last. My gosh, the last 10 years, I've, lost, my wife and I have lost, our parents,
yeah,
like I've had some job changes. We've had some different things, life happens, and that's the
yeah,
same for everybody, is that, it's how you deal with it. And, you try to stay focused on constant improvement. How do you get a little
absolutely.
bit better each day? So today is a good day. I hope by the end of the day, it's a 9 or 10. That's where, I'm at, first, this is one of my first podcasts. So there was a little nervousness in the, beginning. And,
I mean, I got to
that,
give you
that
that.
probably knocked the point off.
I mean, Joe, to be completely honest, for you to be as like 57, authentic, showing up, being like, I'm doing something new for the first time, going like Christmas Eve, like, what am I doing? And it's just, I think that's such an incredible attribute because there's so many people who are like, I'm not for me. I give my job, I'm going to focus on that. But you're like, no, I got to give more, I got to help more, I got to provide more. And if this is the avenue we're going to do it, this is the avenue. I'm going to step into that, and I absolutely love that.
Well, I like I said, I don't think I'm much different than most people. I may try a little harder occasionally, but that's about it. That I take what, I try to do what I can to make a difference. And you mentioned spirituality. I mean, that's played
Oh, we're gonna
a
get to
huge
them.
a
We're gonna
huge
get to them.
role.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
So physical health on a 0 to 10. How are we feeling there?
Well, you've seen me, so I'm not the picture of health. So
What do you feel on it?
I'm
I mean, just
probably
pick a
a
number.
five, probably a 5 or 6. Probably a
5.
solid 5. Yeah, I got
And
to get
why
enough.
do you feel like that?
Why?
Yeah,
Well, I need to be in better shape. I've been a little bit too lazy. Haven't hit the gym nearly as much as I should, and so dropping a couple pounds wouldn't be a bad thing at all.
absolutely. No,
Otherwise, in pretty good health.
because here's the thing, Joe. If people don't share how they authentically are and actually like the
Hmm.
truth, then we don't get better. You know what I mean? So
Oh
everyone
yeah,
listening right now, it's
absolutely.
like Joe's a human. He's sharing authentically. Like we appreciate that. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. I'm not going to give a plug when I am literally, I've got a, protein shake sitting next to me
What
right
uh
now.
what about community service philanthropy? How do we feel about that?
I think it's amazing to give back when you can. And again, I've been fortunate to work with particularly on the pet side, some really great organizations. And I worked with a couple of military groups, U.S. War Dogs in particular, and America's Vet Dogs, that I was
What
super fond of, and we
so
did a lot of work with them over the years. And I'm going to
how
call
did
out
that
to what's
what is that? What exactly is that military war dog? Like what
U.S.
did you
War
do?
Dogs was a group started in New Jersey by a guy named Ron Aiello, who created this. He was doing war memorials for service dogs, and from that, we were able to raise some money and raised a lot of money over the years, and we're able to create opportunities to train dogs for PTSD soldiers, buy things like cooling vests, for dogs, and really make a difference for the well-being of service dogs, even when they come back and they're decommissioned, finding forever homes for them. So that was one that was really rewarding. And then, on the home front, um, I've traveled for the last few years, so I haven't been in Maryland as much as I should. But I worked a lot with I'll call it two groups in particular. There's a group called Barks and Baltimore Area Rescue and Care Shelter, and a group called Soft Side. Show Your Soft Side. For anybody who gets a chance to check them out, it's one of the coolest things I've seen. It's an anti-animal cruelty campaign that was started in Baltimore. And tagline is "Only a punk would hurt an animal." So it's these gigantic professional athletes and celebrities with rescue animals. So really creating awareness. And as far as giving back, I think any opportunity you have to do good things in a meaningful way is important,
I-
and even the little things. It's not necessarily. I'm not big on being overly showy. Anybody who knows me, I'm kind of like I'm always the face for radio, behind the scenes kind of guy. And but when you have an opportunity to do good things, you should. And I think it's very rewarding. Just being able to help people and see them, improve. I've also done. I've coached. Youth and high school sports for a lot of years.
yeah.
That I get,
No,
I get a real enjoyment out of watching kids, kind of come out of their shell and, be able to, grow and develop, through sports. So
I
I'm a huge
I
fan of giving back.
I love that. I appreciate you sharing all that because it gives a lot of the audience different ideas. Like, you know what I mean? Because I would sit there and go, "All right, you're a pet guy. Cool. How can we help?" And you're like, "U.S. war dogs." Like, I mean, you just share that, and you're like, "Oh, it connects the dots for people, right?" Like, so if you really have a passion about something, and you want to pair it with something, that is a brilliant organization. But you can figure out whatever organization you're passionate about. Like one of the big ones for me is like financial literacy. I think it's super important, and there's different ways to get involved with that. So it's just taking, like, I can tell by the way you shared in all the groups that you have taken a thought process and you have kind of put together the time to go, hey, these are actually charities and organizations that I care about, and I want to give towards them because they're actually going to make a difference. So I appreciate you sharing that because
Yeah, absolutely.
it makes a huge difference. And then the next one's relationships. So this could be personal, this could be professional, this could be whatever you want it to be.
I find that they're usually both. They marry. I've been, uh, and again, I say fortunate, grateful a lot because I am. I've got, you know, two of my best friends I've had since I was 6 years old.
Oh wow.
My half a dozen best friends I've known for at least 30 years, and in several cases, some of my closest friends started out as coworkers and employees. Either sometimes I work for them, sometimes they work for me, sometimes we were on the side. Didn't really matter. And
Yeah.
so I think relationships are incredibly important. You have to like the people that you're around. You got to like the people that you work with. Case in point, it's funny you talk about working a lot, and Bob Gappa and I were had a quick call last night at 10:30 and ended up being an hour plus call. Just kind of like, and we're both like, just genuinely enjoy, speaking to each other.
Yeah.
And I still keep in touch with, the people that I worked with 30 and, in some
And
cases 40 years ago.
how do you do that? How do you stay connected to people? Like what is there any strategy or any thing that you do to stay connected with people? The only reason I
No.
ask is just because it's hard for us to maintain. Like there's so many people.
So honestly, I don't, like I stay connected to people that I want to stay connected to because I'm, they're, it's a genuine relationship. I
Yeah.
know, and this is probably wrong for this podcast, but I'm not one of those guys that strategically reaches out to people every 32 days, because I've got to ping them and give them a hey and a how are you and all, like I'm cordial with everyone, but the people that I'm closest to, they know it, they know
Yeah.
it because I connect with them, and um, I have, great relationships that I've had for many years, but I don't have a cadence to how this is supposed to go. It's just a, hey, like I miss you. Let's go talk.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it is I'll, like and it's fun. Sometimes I get a call, from people and it's like, hey, it's just been a while. Let's catch up.
Yeah. It's the
Uh,
best.
yeah, absolutely. And, I find that's a lot more rewarding because it feels very genuine.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then spirituality. Where are you at on spirituality? How do you feel
Always
about
all
that?
over the place. Um, I do. I've been spiritual my life. I'm a product of Catholic school. So I was beat up by nuns and then Franciscans. Uh, I truly do, and all kidding aside, is the Franciscans really helped to shape my beliefs and kind of the way I think about things. So
Yeah.
I've always been spiritual. I'm not going to lie and say I'm the perfect Catholic by any means. I've had ups and downs as far as relationship with the church. Always been very spiritual though, and I am a regular mass attender, and I think it's important for me. It's a comfortable space,
Yeah.
and it's just I feel that I'm at my healthiest when spiritually I'm in a good place.
I
So it's
love that.
important. It's important to me, and I try to live by the principles that were kind of impressed upon me by my parents and and those Franciscans back in the day. But it's important. It's very important to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Joe, where can people learn more about you and where can they learn more about Loyalty Brand
Well, I don't know
and
that
everything
anyone has
pets?
to learn more about me, but I would suggest checking out loyalty brands, at loyaltybrands.com, and also checking out any of our concepts: Zoom and Grooming, Salty Dog, Cooper Scoopers, and Hike Doggy. All of those, you can check us out on social. You can check out our websites, and also under Loyalty Brands, you can see all of our amazing brands. There are 9 currently, and stay tuned. We're working on a few more. So exciting times, and come join the fun.
Absolutely. I love it. I'll put all that in the show notes and I really appreciate the time, Joe.
Fantastic. Appreciate you, my friend.